Hi there, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us on this rainy night. Aren't you glad you had a dry place that you could join us? I'm Susan Blunt, one of the directors of Neighbors on Call, and Becca Zirkin, our co-director, is here too. She'll speak in a minute. Neighbors on Call, or NOC, as we like to call it, is laser focused on electing Democrats to the North Carolina State Legislature in the districts that will be won or lost by just a few votes. Sorry. In 2024, we will help break the Republican supermajority in the General Assembly to restore the governor's veto power. Becca, you got slides for me? Granville County is at the center of this fight with two must-win legislative districts. Senate District 18 covers all of Granville County and the northern part of Wake County. This is a Democratic seat currently held by Senator Mary Wills Bodie. Representative Terence Everitt is running for the seat in 2024. House District 32 includes all of Granville and part of Vance County. It's currently a Republican-held seat, but it's one we can and must flip in 2024. Bryan Cohn is the guy to do it, and he's here with us tonight. Representative Terence Everitt is going to start us off tonight by explaining what exactly is at stake in these races and what it will take to win. Representative Everitt, welcome. Turn it over to you now.
Thank you. What's at stake? Everything. This is going to be an incredibly pivotal year for us. We're talking about abortion rights, whether we're funding our public schools, investments in our infrastructure, the right to vote. Everything is on the table. The state legislature has become more MAGA as time has gone on, and they've lost what few moderates that they had. And so everything is going to be on the table. It is up to us to protect the governor's veto, because that's what we're going to have for the next foreseeable future, for the next few years, is being able to veto the legislation coming out of the General Assembly. And that's going to come back to us. To the extent that abortion rights, for instance, my wife and I have talked about losing our first child and the DNC that she had, and what that did for her, being able to make sure she was safe and that we would be able to have children. We're, I wouldn't say happy to share that, but we shared that story because of its importance, because we understood the moment that we were in. We are still in that moment. And so whatever we can do to win these seats, to protect women, to protect our kids, to protect our future, that's what we are called to do. You all know that after 8 years, I was ready to be done until I wasn't ready to be done. I didn't come back just on a whim. I came back because I had to. This is a seat that we must win. And why these seats are so important is because of the overlap. We're working in this House seat and this Senate seat. It's a twofer. When we go knocking there, you're getting two seats that are going to be pivotal in breaking supermajorities. Senate District 18 is going to be the key to breaking the supermajority in the Senate. It's a seat we already have, but it is going to be the most competitive and expensive race in all of North Carolina for the state legislature, House and Senate. This is going to be the epicenter of every fight that we have. Millions are going to be spent here, because the Republicans know they have to get this back if they're going to keep their supermajority. And at the same time, we look over at the House. This is a seat that we need to pick up if we're going to break the supermajority in the House. And in my mind, this is not a one or the other. We don't need both. We need both. Because when you're sitting in the General Assembly and you're in a superminority and you're knowing that the only chance you've got is that the other chamber does their job, it's all on one chamber. You don't want that. You want two chambers that are going to be able to do their job. That sends a truer message to the majority party, and it gives Governor Stein more room to work. So this is our job. We do not have a choice. This is going to be a close race. They don't put me in races that are not painfully close. That's apparently not my thing. So this is going to be close races. And this is where Neighbors on Call excels. This is what we do. When it gets down into the single digits, 1, 2, 3 points, this is where we make a difference. This is where door knocking and talking to folks, having those conversations, making those short little memories that people hold on to until election day. And then they're guilted into voting because they had a wonderful conversation with you. That's where this matters. That's where we win elections. And yeah, I've shared the story before. In 2016 was the first time we ran and we lost. It was pre-knock era. And I was okay because I had done everything I could possibly do. And I want everyone on this call to have that. No matter what happens, at the end of the day on election day, you've done everything. There will be no regrets. And when we win, you will partake in the party as much as anybody else because you will have won this seat just as much as anybody else. I have never won an election. We have won elections. And so that's what we're looking at. Nothing short of saving the future of North Carolina. I've seen what's happened over the last few years. I know what's at stake. I would not be here if this wasn't everything. And it's an opportunity for us. And these 2 seats, they're going to be everything. So thank you all for being on the call. And what we need, though, we need you to volunteer. We need knock folks to do what you do best. Come out, volunteer as many times as you can, as often as you can. Come to Granville, visit us, spend time with us. It'll be glorious. and we're going to have a good time. We're going to meet a lot of folks. And since I've known this group, we've changed Northern Wake. We have made Northern Wake a place where Democrats can win. We have done that. We weren't really in Granville last cycle. Imagine what we're going to do there. We can change the face of that county. So thank you all.
Well, thank you for your kind thoughts, Representative Everitt, and thank you for being willing to run again. We're so grateful that you're in this race with us. So now I'm going to pass it over to Liz to introduce our panel. Please, Liz Purvis.
Hey, y'all. Again, my name is Liz Purvis. I'm excited to introduce the panelists and our moderator this evening as we talk about and learn about Granville County. Ricky Hurtado will serve as our moderator tonight. He is a former state house representative from Alamance County, which is where I went to college. Go Elon. He is also the co-founder of Latinx Ed and a consultant on issues of racial equity, immigrant rights, education equity, access to higher education, and leadership development for youth of color. Bryan Cohn is running to flip our NC House District 32. He serves on the Oxford Board of Commissioners, and he is a senior solutions engineer focusing on manufacturing and safety, quality, and compliance. Dr. Linda Jordon is the mayor of Butner. She was elected in November and became the first Black mayor of Butner. Previously, she served as on the Butner Town Council since 2007. And Dr. Butner is a leadership coach with 25 years of experience in the corporate world. And then there's me. Hi, I'm Liz. I am the chair of the Granville County Democratic Party. We are a small but mighty group of Democrats up here in Granville County. We meet the 4th Thursday of every month. It is hybrid, and we are getting better at that format every month. So we welcome you in person or virtually. I'm also the secretary of the Young Democrats of North Carolina and a writer and an organizer and a communication specialist. And I'm doing double duty as a co-host and a panelist tonight. Ricky, back to you.
Thanks so much, Liz, for those great introductions. But more importantly, thank you all to Neighbors on Call for having this incredible panel and for having me, Becca and Susan, check in every so often, even without an active campaign here in Alamance County, just to sort of catch up on how things are going and, you know, where we can support each other. And, you know, a few months ago, we're like, well, if you want to be more involved, you know, just let us know. And I'm like, are you kidding? Of course, I'd love to be more involved. You know, I owe so much to Neighbors on Call and so much time and effort and energy across Alamance County. So, yeah, it's really great to be back and see so many familiar faces in this crowd. I see Joan Holland, who has been a great supporter of democracy in North Carolina, and so many other folks here. So it's really great to be a part of this conversation. But yeah, you're not here for me. We're here for Granville County, right? So let's jump right in it. Would love to start with you, Mayor Jordon. It's really great to meet you. Was busy reading all about you today and seeing ABC News coverage of you and of your historic election. So I think you're in a really great position to just share with us about, you know, familiarize us. You know, not all of us know Granville County, and a lot of us are eager to knock in your community. So tell us about the different towns and regions in Granville County. What do we need to know?
Sure, absolutely. Well, first of all, thank you for the opportunity to be here this evening. So yes, Granville County has 5 small towns. I'll start with Stovall. That was incorporated in 1907. One of the phrases that it's known for is that sassafras fork. It has it's a really cute small town. Has a community park. And they're actually going to be getting a new senior center. They have one, but I think that's going to be getting an upgrade to that. So Stovall is really cute. STEM is another one that is, all of our towns are cute. But STEM is next door to Butner. It's known as Tally Ho. It was incorporated in 1888. They have 463 people. So they have a small council. But it's a very, very close to Butner. You go across the drive and highway, and then you're right there at STEM. So STEM and Butner are, I call us bedroom communities because we're so close to Durham and Raleigh. And for Butner, that's where I am. We have approximately a little over 8,000 citizens, which also includes the federal prison. And that's one of the things that keeps us going as well, because we have a lot of traffic coming in from that area. A lot of people coming from the Raleigh-Durham area. Butner is known as Camp Butner, established in 1942, where the camp was here and the prisoners were also here. There's a lot of historic areas, the Soldiers Memorial, which was previously the sports arena. So we've renamed it to the Soldiers Memorial Arena. And so we have a lot of athletics that are going on in that particular building. Right next door to us is the town of Creedmoor. And Creedmoor was officially incorporated in 1905. And looking at their history, they started in 1885, but it was renamed because the spelling of the name changed, and it was Creedmore in 1895, and then they changed it to Creedmoor, Moore. They have a lot of activities that go on. Their Creedmoor Music Festival. One of the things they recently started was their town has a DEI advisory committee. And that's to help sort of bridge the gap when it comes to communication and being more of an inclusive area. So I was pleased to see that they have that. And then we have the town of Oxford. And Oxford was known as if you go back, Creedmoor was known as a mule town. But Oxford is, they're known for, which I love, the Hot Sauce Festival. They have over 9,000 citizens. It was founded in 1811, if I'm not mistaken. They also have music on Main. But one of the great things about Granville County as a whole is that our Chamber of Commerce is right at the heart of everything. And so we have what's called Live After 5. And so we have individuals that come from all the neighboring towns to participate or be a part of the lovely events that we have. And the chamber goes from different towns to the larger towns to have these events. And it's just a way to connect with people that you haven't seen in a while, or individuals that you see all the time, but the communities come together, and that's what makes Granville County so great. is that it's warm. It's a place that, you know, I raised my daughter here, and moving from Cary, I wanted that area where it's, you know, you can walk to school, so you can live, work, and play. And that's one of the things that I love about it. So Granville County has a lot to offer. We have a lot of athletics. We have a lot of nature trails, well, a lot of lakes or things of that nature. But it's just a great place to live. I really enjoy it. And I love it on Sundays when I get up and I don't hear any traffic.
No, thank you, Mayor. That's such a great overview, and just already gives me a taste of what Granville is like. And I'm sure that folks who are canvassing there will get, you know, a little taste of what you're describing as well. So we're excited to get to know the community a little bit better as well. So I appreciate you sharing a little bit more about the county.
Awesome. Thank you.
Absolutely. Commissioner Cohn, I wanted to move to you here. Mayor Jordon sort of gave us an overview of sort of, you know, an overview of the county and the community, and what to expect, and what we can find there. Part of Granville's story is also the demographic and economic shifts, right? It's a county in transition. And as I was reading about Granville, it reminds me a lot of Alamance as sort of growing, sort of small towns changing, you know, his history of, you know, different economies, and sort of the future looks different. So can you tell us a little bit about that transition, sort of the economy of old and the economy of new?
Yeah, absolutely. And first off, thank you to everyone. This is a pleasure to be a part of the panel this evening. So thank you guys for having us. So Granville County in the past, you know, Mayor Jordon did a good job of kind of covering the broad brushstrokes, but we started off as an agricultural community, right? Tobacco was the most successful crop grown in this particular region, which has a lot to do with the soil composition of this particular area. It's a sandy, loomy soil here, and tobacco was the primary crop for a long time. Supplied all of Liggett Myers, American Tobacco, and other major manufacturers in the United States as well as abroad. So it was a major area for agriculture, and then obviously our economy started to grow. It changed a little bit as part of World War II, as the Camp Butner complex began to grow and expand, and became eventually the federal prison facility. And in that same time frame, post World War II, industry began to take root in Granville County. In terms of industry, you know, I think everyone may be familiar with a company called Revlon. Their North American headquarters and manufacturing facility is here in Oxford. We have Certainty, which makes pretty much every asphalt shingle that goes on your roof. All those really nice architectural shingles, housing wraps. We have their U.S. Their largest plant is here in Oxford. We have tire manufacturing. We have pallet manufacturing. But we also have the beginnings of some really technical advanced manufacturing starting here in Granville County. Planted, which is a new materials manufacturer, they produce a sustainable type of structural lumber without harvesting trees. That they actually grow a specific type of grass, and their test plots are in northern Granville County, up near Stovall, and they are producing sheet goods that are sheathing houses that are being built in Raleigh, started by a couple guys out of SpaceX. We have other some other industries that are moving in. Triangle North, which is an industrial complex geared towards advanced manufacturing, that's getting off the ground here in Granville County, just off I-85 near Oxford. So advanced manufacturing is where we are going. Long story short, we are positioned probably better than any other county in North Carolina, and probably along the eastern seaboard, in terms of our access to rail, highway, air, because we have a regional airport here in Granville County. We also have RDU, which is just a short 36-minute from my house here in the middle of downtown Oxford. And we're within several hour drive of a number of major U.S. seaports. So we are nestled right up against Wake County. We touch Wake County and Durham County. We're the last county to basically see growth from the Greater Triangle area. Well, it's all coming. And so we have a wonderful water supply from the north end of the county, which is Carl Lake, which supplies the northern half of Granville County. So we have plenty of water supply. We have a lot of the resources. We have all the sort of pieces that are needed to bring better economic stability to the region. And we're starting to see that unfold now here in the last several years. And we have lots of interest on the way. And not to mention rooftop, because here they come, right? Raleigh and Durham are growing out, and Granville County has been discovered, particularly again in the Oxford region and north, because we have a water situation in the south side of the county, a water and sewer situation there, which is being overcome, but is probably 5 years out. But we have a really good water situation in the northern half of the county. So here they come. Oxford, which is around 9,000 folks, as the mayor mentioned, will probably be in line with a Wake Forest in terms of total population inside of the next quarter century. So just in the last 2 months, the city of Oxford has expanded by 800 acres in terms of annexation requests from developers. So we're growing fast.
Yeah,
here in
growing
Oxford.
fast. Growing fast.
Yes.
Well, we'll come back to you in a little bit when we want to dive a little deeper on concerns, and we already have some questions in the chat around the water situation and sort of explaining exactly what that is. But we want to get into a little bit of history here, so I'm going to bring back Mayor Jordon. You started to touch on it briefly in your sort of description of the community, but there's rich civil rights history in your community, right? When you think about memoirs that have been written about it. Timothy Tyson's Blood Done Sign My Name is an example of it. Can you just tell us a little bit more about the history there in your community and what we can expect when we learn about the civil rights movement in North Carolina?
Well, yeah, as you mentioned, yes, Blood Done Sign My Name, the historical memoir by Tim Tyson, where he explores the murder of Henry Marrow, who was a young Black man who is from Mr. Tyson's hometown, which is Oxford. It's just like with other small towns and cities, everyone is coping or struggling or having challenges regarding race relations. And, a couple of years ago when everyone was taking down the Confederate flags and things that Confederate statues, Oxford was a part of that as well. There was one close to the library downtown. I would say as a whole, from what I have experienced since I have been in North Carolina, born and raised in Virginia, but since I've been here longer than I've been in Virginia, is that I see that the communities do embrace themselves, but there are still issues that need to be addressed and resolved. Sometimes people don't share them or bring them out because there's still some of that, I call it a love-hate relationship. But there's still individuals who still have that feeling of they can't say or do certain things or, remembering the past and then trying to move forward. So different things that may occur within the community still brings back memories from individuals from the past. And so how do we overcome that? And for me, it's really about having more conversations. So as I mentioned before, Creedmoor does have a diversity, equity, inclusion advisory board. And I think that's the start. But other towns within Granville County, I think we either need to come together and be a part of the one that Creedmoor has or create one for Granville County. But I think that, we can overcome different challenges or obstacles or fears or concerns if we have conversations more frequently, as opposed to sweeping things under the rug. And not saying that that's something that the county or the towns or municipalities are currently doing, but I don't think people share their concerns because of a fear of what might happen or, just concerns overall. One of the things that I, want to make sure and see that we happen is that, number one, Granville County has a growing population of Hispanics and Latinos that are coming into the area. And we as a people need to make sure that we embrace all nationalities or religions or ethnicities that come into our county and make people feel comfortable. But again, it's really about having the conversation. And so if someone's struggling in a particular area, we have the responsibility or duty to make sure that they are comfortable because we want our towns and cities to grow. And we want to make sure that people feel included in that. And that will help us grow and prosper as a community.
I can
Long answer. Hopefully that answered your question.
no, that's incredibly helpful, and I can see why you won your election. I'm ready to move to Butner. I'm like, let me vote for you, right?
Well, growing up in Virginia, my mom always said, treat people the way that you want to be treated. And that's what I do every single day. I try to embrace everyone that I meet and put myself in their position. And that's how I want to be able to respond to them.
No. Well, thank you for that answer, and thank you for that. Another layer, right? We've talked sort of layout of the community, right? What cities and towns, a little bit about the economy, history, right? All
Mhm.
these things, right? I know the knock volunteers are, it's no surprise that they're sort of kind of nerds and they love this stuff because whenever they canvassed for me, I remember they'd ask me all these very specific questions, like, tell me about the history of Mebane, or like, tell me about the communities here, right? Or
Right.
what industry has moved in, right? So this is all very, very important background information for us as we sort of think about how we engage your communities. But let's loosen it up a little bit. We've talked a lot about, facts, data, etc. Let's
Yeah.
have a little fun here. And so, part of, what Knock Volunteers love to do is get to know the community, not just by talking to voters, but also visiting your establishments, having a little bit of fun in the community, right? So I would love to go to each one of you. And Liz, actually, let me bring you in first because I know you've been we haven't asked you a question directly yet. So, what are your favorite places and events to do in the county? Well, sell us Granville County.
Well, so I'm going to brag on first two places that people dropped in the chat already that are two of my favorite places in Oxford. One is Strong Arm Baking, which we will be using. We will be using as a meeting place for some Granville County canvases. If you want to go get a sweet treat or a coffee, they're an amazing bakery that also does like porch drop food delivery for folks, like not just in Oxford, but down to Durham and Raleigh too. Um, and then also Wednesday through Saturday, they're a pizza place. And it's the best pizza that I've had in the state. Like it's really, really good pizza. So they're wonderful. And then Tobacco Wood Brewing is also really great. They're the only veteran woman-owned brewery in the state that I know of. And they do a delightful combination of like serving fresh different beers and like having good food from their kitchen and also inviting food trucks to come and do their outdoor patio service on days where their kitchen is closed. They're also really lovely to us in terms of like allowing us to use their space sometimes. So, we're grateful to them. Also there's True Soul in Creedmoor, which is really great soul food, good oxtail, great fried fish, fish and chips. Um, Really good, cool place. Um, those are the places I like to eat around Granville County. I'm sure somebody else could add.
Brian, do you have any additions to that?
It's a hard list to beat. So I will say one of my favorite events that I look forward to in Granville County is going to be the fireworks out at Lake Holt, down in the Creedmoor Button area. That is that's an awesome event we do on July 4th. A lot of fun. But I mean, between the Hot Sauce Festival, all the great restaurants we have coming, we have the brewery, we have a distillery now with a great restaurant, more high-end dining. There is so much to do here. It's going to be a lot of fun. I mean, it's fun when we see folks coming up from Raleigh and Durham and other places just to hang out and eat and play here in Granville County.
No, that's great. That's great. And just a quick note, I'm sure it's probably thundering and storming really bad in where you are right now. In case something happens to my connection, it just got pretty bad here. So just an FYI to the audience here. But Mayor Jordon, I'm not gonna let you get away. I'm sure you have a list, but you very casually mentioned the Hot Sauce Festival and just
Yes.
didn't elaborate. Like that's not fair.
Oh, okay. Well, Oxford has a hot sauce festival every year, which I love, and my husband and I love hot sauce, so we go every single year. So if you're in the neighborhood, please definitely stop by. It is a phenomenal event. Creedmoor has their music festival. That's always really good in the fall. Town of Butner, we have our Butner Summer Festival. That's the first Saturday in June, and it is an area that you don't want to miss. So we have a car show and lots of things for the kids to do, but lots of great restaurants in Granville County that they both have mentioned. I will mention Plumpy's here in Butner, and True Soul is actually in Butner, not Creedmoor. But yes, and the countywide fireworks that we have here at in Butner at Lake Holt, and so that is just a place where kids really have just a fantastic time, and they get to run and play, and on the top of the hill you can watch the fireworks up close and personal. So it's just a great place to live and to raise your kids, because you
Yeah.
can this elementary and the middle school here in Butner is just right down the street. We got sidewalks, kids can walk to school, and it's a very safe place. And so I just truly love it, if you can't tell.
No, that's great. We're taking notes here, so we expect to visit all of these in this next election cycle. So I'm definitely signing up for this hot sauce festival. That sounds like fun. So yeah, definitely
And I
coming.
will shamelessly plug that this year it will be 2 days,
Okay.
not just one. So the first day will be a music festival, and then we have the ongoing hot sauce. So we are expanding it by a day. So, and we usually have, I mean, it's like being at the state fair. There's so many people down in downtown. It's crazy.
Oh, I love that. That's awesome. We'll have
Yeah.
to come. All right, I'm behind on time and we're having a little too much fun here. So let's talk business. Let's talk voters. All right. Liz, I think you're up, and we'd love to sort of get a lay of the land, right? We got to know the community a little bit here. But yeah, tell us a little bit more about who we're talking to, right? We're coming to Granville to canvass. Tell us a little bit about the voter split in the community.
Sure. So I did a little data digging for this. So in Granville County, we have really seen a shift in our voter registration landscape. The current data from the State Board of Elections says that nearly 40% of the registered voters in Granville County stand with the Democratic Party. That's almost 16,000 individuals. The Republicans make up about 11,000 folks in the electorate. And then we have 13,400-ish unaffiliated voters. So this is a really solid stance for our Democratic Party. And like when we showed up in our recent school board elections, we showed that when we do show up to vote, we win. But the data also shows that we have a not insignificant showing up at the polls / apathy problem. In the 2022 midterms, there were precincts in Granville County where nearly half of all of our registered Democrats did not vote. And that makes it that makes the work of Neighbors on Call really so vital for a county like Granville, just by reaching out and targeting those Democrats who might otherwise stay at home without a conversational nudge. We shift these elections on field margins.
How are those numbers trending? Are they trending our way in the sense of seeing a more progressive electorate over the years, or what's going on there?
I wish that I could tell you that was the case. However, over the past decade, registered Democrats have seen a reduction of about 20%, from 20,000 registered Democrats in 2014 to the 16,000 that we have today. And then Republicans have grown over 27%. So they were at 8,600, now they're at 11,000. And then unaffiliated voters have surged by 62%. They went from 8,200 unaffiliated voters to 13,400 unaffiliated voters. There are definitely those that would see this as a challenge to the democratic spirit of Granville County. But I also really think it's an opportunity to listen and to learn and to engage in deep and meaningful ways with our community. I think the rise in unaffiliated voters tells us that people are thinking independently. They want policies and platforms that resonate with their values, regardless of party lines. And it also tells us that there is a growing appetite for change. You know, I wish we could get all those folks to be Democrats, and but the truth is that we can't. But we can get some of them to vote with us, and that can make a difference.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I mean, those numbers, right, just off the cuff are reflective of, that's not unique to Granville, right? That's happening across North Carolina and in many parts of the country as well. So, like you said, right, it's like the mission is about thinking about like what is the coalition of voters that we're getting, right? And there's plenty of left-leaning, unaffiliated voters that are part of that winning coalition that we need for all our candidates.
Yeah, and we have a historic mayor here, our first Afro-Latino mayor in Oxford, who won in independent race with 70% of the vote in
Oh,
November
wow.
of last year. So it is there are people who want progressive policies but don't want the Democrat name, and I think we got a big tent and we got to make room for them too.
That's right. That's right. So as we knock on the doors of these big tent voters, Bryan, talk to me a little bit about, we're a little short on time, so just you're training me to go knock on some doors, right? What are the top 3, 4 things that you feel like need to be a part of that conversation? What are the top concerns for voters right now?
Well, that's a great question and a challenge to sum that up quickly. But here in Granville County, there's a number of issues. The south side of the county, as you mentioned earlier, much like a lot of communities in North Carolina, are facing the forever chemicals and PFAS. This is not unique to Granville County. A lot of our watershed and water basins are contaminated with those chemicals, and we are faced with the challenge of cleaning it up. And I will say that I'm proud of the work that our Southern Granville County water and sewer folks are doing. The local elected officials and state officials are doing to address the issues. This is a problem that affects lots of communities across the state, and we are at the forefront of helping to create some change there. So the citizens in Granville County are proud that we're beginning to, not beginning, but have been rising to the challenge. But it is a concern, right? So we need to make sure that we have sane legislatures in office in Raleigh to make sure that they are giving the funding and the resources necessary to address these issues, so that our folks on the ground have something to work with, and that's a concern. Additionally, in that same vein, education is a huge issue here in Granville County. If you ride around to any of our schools, the vast majority of those buildings are Eisenhower era facilities, older facilities. And just to give you some ideas of the challenges that we face in Granville County, like a lot of rural communities and urban communities, aside from the recruiting of teachers and all of the things that we're facing there, we have a $15 million backlog in school maintenance, just school maintenance. Forget all the other issues. Let's set those aside. Maintenance. I'm talking leaky roofs. I'm talking basic maintenance here. We're not talking renovations and repair. We're talking maintenance. $50 million backlog. The budget that our good folks, all the school board, and God bless Dr. Stan Winborn for all the good work they're doing. They manage a maintenance budget of $1.5 million annually. We are going backwards here in Granville County. We are feeling the effects, and the effects of the voucher program will be magnified here in Granville County because we have these huge issues that we're addressing, and it's compounding those. And folks here are concerned: where are they going to send their kids to school? We have some charter schools here in the area, but trying to bus kids around and do all these things in a rural community is really hard. It's hard in Raleigh. Imagine how hard it is here in Granville County to accomplish these things and to have such out-of-date infrastructure. And that's an enormous concern for our voters here in Granville County. I'll limit it to those two issues because those are very big issues that we have here. There's obviously a lot of things we can go into, but education and good, clean, safe drinking water are the basic things that we are asked to provide as elected officials and as community leaders. And those are the things that we're having to rise to the challenge to figure out how we're going to do in the face of tightening budgets that were coming from Raleigh, where we're not going to be able to get the appropriations that we used to be able to get, things of that nature. So we're trying to find ways to fight for our citizens here.
No, that's great. No, thank you for that overview. Yeah, I'm sure there's a lot to learn, but knowing those two key things will certainly help us as we begin to talk to voters in Granville County. Liz, I'll give you the last word here very briefly. I know we've had a really robust conversation, but any final thoughts that you'd like to leave these volunteers around things we should know as we knock on doors in Granville County?
Yeah. First off, if you want to stay posted on as many of our events as I can possibly get on our calendar, sign up for our newsletter. I've dropped the link in the chat. I'll do that a couple more times before we get off here. Also, know that we appreciate everyone who comes, and we are so thankful for the data. Like, the data is really helpful. I know that our county party and Neighbors on Call both work really hard to create walkable turf packets for canvassing. But sometimes in rural counties, you're driving a little bit more between houses. And we thank you for your volunteer time, effort, and gas. It truly means so much. I also want to say that, even if you get a section of a packet where a couple of houses aren't accessible, being able to mark them inaccessible is helpful data for us too. And so just knowing that makes it easier for us to continue canvassing and continue having the most fruitful conversations. Thank you.
That's great. Thank you, Liz. I see some questions coming in the chat. Please keep them coming. We will come back to your questions, but very briefly, I'll pass it back over to Beck and Susan to keep this conversation going. Thanks so much to the panelists. Y'all were great. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ricky, and thank you to the panel. And we will come back to you in a few minutes for the Q&A. But first, call to action time from Neighbors on Call and from the Granville Dems, and with help from a special cameo appearance from a special guest coming in a moment. So now's a good time to drop your questions in the chat, and we'll get to as many as we can. I'm sure Ricky won't be able to get to all of them. We all understand the importance of electing Terence Everitt and Bryan Cohn. And of course, it is also vitally important that we are electing Democrats up and down the ticket too. And here's the good news about that. Focusing on the down ballot races also carries the candidates at the top. But the reverse is not necessarily true. Just focusing at the top of the ticket does not necessarily mean those votes are going to trickle down to the other candidates on the ballot. So that means we need to keep increasing name recognition for Terence and Bryan all through 2024. And while we're doing that, we're going to be helping to flip the courts, which we all know is absolutely critical. And on that note, we are extremely lucky to have a very distinguished Granville County resident here tonight to lay out that plan to take back the courts, Judge Carolyn Thompson. And Susan, if you don't mind sharing that slide in a second. Judge Thompson is running to hold her seat on the North Carolina Court of Appeals, and that is a statewide seat. So we all get to vote for her, and so will every single voter that we are talking to. Judge Thompson, thank you so much for being here to explain the multi-year plan to take back the courts. Judge Thompson, unmuted.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I hear you now.
Wonderful, great. So thank you so much for the opportunity to explain that we actually are running as a team slate to take back our courts. We are Allison Riggs for the Supreme Court. We are Martin Moore for the Court of Appeals. We are Ed Eldridge, also for the Court of Appeals. And then I am the incumbent for seat 12, already serving on the Court of Appeals. We have found out since 2014, we've lost every appellate seat since 2014. And then, of course, once we were required to put our party affiliation behind our names, it has been an ongoing attack on our court system. In fact, right now, the Republican slate is running under this notion of clean sweep, meaning that they are trying to take both courts as soon as possible, and they're not playing. We have to get the word out about, don't forget the courts. We are the firewall for all of the issues that we heard about in the early part of this call. We're the ones that are going to deal with the issue of fairness and lines, fairness in our rights, and precedents being overturned, that things that we took for granted as just constitutional basic rights are being reheard in our courts. So please don't forget to go down ballot. It's difficult for judicial candidates to talk about policy and issues because guess what? We will be faced with ethics complaints like Anita Earls, who's just finished getting over a long fight about the transparency of our court system and had to defend keeping her robe simply because she spoke truth, that there is an absence of diversity in our court system. So thank you so much for this opportunity to share that the court system is the third branch of government, and we are here to protect the other branch of government from all of the takeover moves that we've been seeing here lately.
Judge Thompson, thank you so much for coming to tell us that, and thank you for running and for all you're doing to protect all of us. And we're very eager to support you. Thank you.
Thank you.
So as you heard, our work for Terence Everitt and Bryan Cohn will also help with the courts. We are asking you to take action now with Neighbors on Call and the Granville Dems by knocking doors in Granville County. So if you're new to canvassing, we totally understand if you're nervous about it, but you will have plenty of support. You will always have a welcome from the candidates. You'll have a knock point person there to answer your questions. You will be given talking points to use. You don't have to be an expert about anything. And you will get a specific list of voters who are unaffiliated and could possibly be voting our way, or Democrats who need a nudge to vote the whole ballot or to turn out to vote. And you will always go with a partner. And if you like, you can sign up as a silent partner. We will match you with a mentor who will do all the talking and you will help record the data. Knock and the Granville Dems will canvass with Bryan and Terence on April 13th. That's meeting in Oxford on June 9th and on June 30th. And Neighbors on Call is also active in our other target districts. So in Northern Wake with Representative Everitt in the other part of his district, and that overlaps with Yvonne Hopkins, who's running for what is currently Representative Everitt's House seat. And in Southern Wake County with State Senator Lisa Grafstein and with Sophia Jackson, who's running to flip that House seat. And Liz, you also have one more opportunity to canvass in Granville that you were going to tell us about.
Yes, just wanted to shout out the May 25th canvass that we're having. This is a Granville County Dems and Project 100, which is the state party's project to protect and fight in all 100 counties. So we're doing a co-canvas with them. We're also meeting at Strong Arm. It's great. They have a good place outside. It's a good little place to be a canvassing home base. And we'd love to have you all. The Neighbors on Call crew is fantastic, and we'd love to have as many of you as want to join us.
Thank you so much for that. And Karen said the most important thing in the chat: canvassing is fun and it is so important to success. And of course, that is why we do it, because we want to win. So Ricky, we're going to pass it back to you to take some questions from the chat, and as many as you can take. And Representative Everitt and Judge Thompson are available to join us for that too. So passing it back to you.
Great. Thank you, Becca. Still remember one of the first times Knock came to Alamance. You were my buddy, Becca. So we were knocking on doors together.
I remember, it was fun.
That was like 4 years ago. That's crazy. Great. So yeah, let's jump into questions. If you have more questions, feel free to drop them in the chat. The first question that I saw that I wanted to bring up, because we could spend more time on voter concerns, was the question around affordable housing. So Terence, we haven't heard enough from you today, and I was wondering if I could pitch this to you to talk a little bit about how folks are talking and feeling the housing crunch in Granville.
You're asking the guy who's first, running in Granville about the housing issues. Listen, I will say this: my limited time in Granville, is very reminiscent of where I grew up, and it's probably reminiscent of, as Bryan said, Wake Forest, a few years back now. And housing is an issue here in the Wake Forest Roseville area, to be certain, and I know it's going to be an issue in Granville. It is the only game left in town. We know people are moving up there. They're moving up there in droves, and so to the extent that they're feeling the crunch, it's just going to get worse. And it is an issue that we have not fully addressed in the legislature, and that's our job. And so we need to be able to connect with these folks and, make sure that they're heard and demand a legislature that's going to offer answers.
No, absolutely. Thank you, Terence. Commissioner Cohn, did you have anything to add to that, or?
Yes, if I can get myself off Zoom fast enough. So yeah, we have a housing crisis as it stands today. There isn't enough of it, particularly worker-based housing. One thing that we're working, that myself and my colleagues have worked on the Oxford Board of Commissioners, is a change in our zoning to allow for greater density while conserving open space. We refer to as conservation development. Allows us to get more units in a smaller space while leaving larger open space. Trying to work with developers to create a mix of housing options in their development, so that we can provide a variety of house like price points. And I'll say one of our newest developments is just happened to open up the Meadows at Oxford, which is on Highway 96, right off of I-85. I believe they just started filling homes in the last 6 months. There's probably 80 homes built. I believe in the number somewhere around 40 folks that have bought homes there are first-time home buyers who were renters in Oxford. So working with developers to find ways to recruit folks in locally to those homes. They did this with in-house financing, 0% interest, things of that nature to bring local residents into those houses. We, with our comprehensive land use, which is something that's required by the state, that the state is trying to rip away from us. We, as a municipality, we're designing our cities in such a way, design the zoning map in such a way that we can do things like urban infill. So here in Oxford, we have a loop that goes around Oxford. It's pretty impressive. We were the second municipality in the country to have a loop. Fun history fact. I'm gonna get it on Jeopardy one day. But within the loop of Oxford, we're focusing on infill. So abandoned lots, old homes, things of that nature, finding ways to work with developers, incentivize developers to put single family homes and multifamily homes on those lots, which cater towards worker-based housing. Housing developments naturally fall on the outskirts around the loop because it gives easy access to the highway. So how we plan and design and work with our cities, as I'm sure the mayor will tell you, is really important to foster an environment where you could have affordable housing. And again, these are things that are under attack by the state legislature by taking the power away from municipalities to decide and shape their future. So again, all the more reason that this election cycle is critically important.
Absolutely. No, thank you, Bryan, for that added context to the housing situation in your county. I'm scrolling through questions here. There's one more that I'm seeing that people are really interested in, and this is for the mayor, Mayor Jordon. Folks want to hear more about your race. You won a close race last year, and wanted to hear more about what you ran on and what resonated with voters.
So, great question. Yeah, it was a really close race, and what I ran on really was community, making sure that we provide opportunities for children. But mostly important is being more inclusive in our communities and people feeling comfortable to sit down and have those tough conversations. And so I invite individuals, to call me or come to my office if they have something that they want to really discuss and find out what's going on. A lot of people do call about, the water issue that everyone has brought about. So to really figure out, what's going on, what can they do? What are some things that we need to be doing differently? And again, it's having those discussions with legislatures to make sure that, the Southern is getting funding or grants that are available to help us in this PFAS issue. But my platform really was on making sure that I am the listener for the community, that I can share their concerns with legislation and to make some changes that are needed and are necessary. So that's really how I do everything in life that way. I'm all about being transparent, but most importantly, listening to the concerns, because we can't solve every issue or concern that comes about, but if you listen to what the individuals have to say and be true and authentic to yourself and let them know that you are hearing their concerns and you're very empathetic to what they're experiencing. And let's talk about, how can we make a change or what needs to be done? Because, again, you can't solve every problem, but you can be a good listener to hear what the concerns are and address those concerns if that's something that you can do.
Yeah, no, I hear that completely, right? Just you have to start somewhere when it comes to building or rebuilding trust with government, right? And
Right,
start
absolutely.
with listening. So I hear that. Thank you, Mary, for sharing that. And Judge
My
Thompson,
pleasure.
I see your hand up, so I'm gonna let you jump in here.
Oxford is slowly moving away from being the bedroom community that I moved into this more progressive, trying to appear more like Wake County with all the housing and stuff that's going on. But the one consistent thing that I'm seeing and understanding, we've forgotten about the indigent community. And there's a huge housing authority population in Oxford that no one's knocking on doors. No one's going over there to tell them about the importance of their vote. And if they're not apathetic, they're just forgotten. No one really goes out there to say, hey, if you want to have something to say about housing, have something to say about why your kids are going to a school in this bedroom community where the ceiling is coming in, and one school system had rattlesnakes in the ceiling dropping down. These are tabletop issues that folks need to hear about and know about. But the folks that are being affected by it, they live in the not so cute, right, tightly knit subdivisions. And I just want to make that a part of your canvassing, that we come out of our comfort zone and go talk to those folks who ordinarily we assume would not vote anyway.
Yeah, no, thank you so much for lifting that up. And it looks in the chat you have at least one canvasser ready to take you up on that challenge. So we appreciate
Those
that.
neighborhoods are fantastic, by the way.
Yeah.
I live 2 blocks away. Those are, you know what? That's a great thing about the neighborhood I live in. We have folks across the spectrum in terms of socioeconomic footprint, but our neighborhoods and our housing department and our housing department director here are some of the most fantastic people in the world. So we will absolutely be knocking those doors because
you're referring to Xavier Wortham. He is an excellent community stakeholder. He's constantly pulling in the community of the Oxford Housing Authority, but we've got to support him in getting the vote out in that community as well.
Correct.
Great. I'm going to give Liz the final word here.
I would just like to report that we did indeed knock in some of the housing authority areas between January and March for the school board election and talk to folks. I think we'll continue to do so. They're good neighborhoods to knock doors in, and you have some good conversations. So thank you for highlighting that for us and reminding us that like it's important for us to knock everywhere.
That's a great place to end, Liz. Thank you for those reminders. Thank you all for the energy, your commitment, and the courage to run and represent your communities. You're getting me fired up, so I'm ready to go knock on some doors and go taste some hot sauce. So I'll see y'all at the very least in September, if not sooner. But yeah, I will pass it back to Beck and Susan, and it's great to see everyone. Thanks so much for having me, y'all.
Hi there. I'm going to make the closing comments here. Thank you so much to everybody for coming tonight. It's great to have you here. It was really an interesting session. I am excited about the Hot Sauce Festival and plan on doing that. I also was delighted to learn that there's a town named STEM. Earlier, when Dan was talking about looking for housing in STEM, I kept thinking science, technology, engineering, and so I'm very glad to find out that that's actually a town. Thank you to the Granville Dems and Liz Purvis for co-hosting, and for all of you doing for what you're doing for democracy. Now, Neighbors on Call will follow up with an email tomorrow to everybody on this Zoom that will provide all those links that we've been tossing links out here and there, but we will put all those links in tomorrow's email. And yes, this will be posted on our website. It usually takes about 24 hours by the time we download it and edit and so on. So if you want to share this with your friends, you can do that later tomorrow. All the links for signing up for campuses and so on will be in that email. So do watch for it. And thanks so much to Ricky Hurtado. We all were delighted to see you again, Representative Everitt, Commissioner Bryan Cohn, Mayor Linda Jordon, and Judge Carolyn Thompson. Thank you all so very much. Good night, and look forward to seeing you again on the campaign trail soon. Bye.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Bye-bye.
y'all. Bye.